Interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you an NBC News report. Grenada invasion, late report.
United States paratroopers have invaded Grenada with helicopter gunships. Our armed forces are engaging them in fierce battle. United States paratroopers have invaded Grenada with helicopter gunships.
So, my name is Keith W. Kettel, Major, United States Army, retired. I enlisted in the Army in 1977, and my first duty assignment was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky with the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. So, of course, I went to Air Assault training there in 1977. A couple, 2-3 years later, I re-enlisted. I re-enlisted for Airborne Infantry, well, actually, Airborne Rangers as a medic. I was a 91 Bravo medical specialist. Went to jump school, I went to Ranger school, I got hurt, got bopped, then made my way to the 82nd Airborne Division in 1980. The reason why I went to jump school was actually my younger brother was already a paratrooper. He went to school in 78. He was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, so I thought it would be a nice track for me to follow.
Last two jumpers turn towards the skin of the aircraft. Second to last jumper, check the last jumper's static line. Check equipment! Check equipment! Sound off for equipment check! Sound off for equipment check!
My Uncle Bob, he was a Korean War vet. He was with the 11th Airborne at the end of the war, and just participated in one combat jump, and then became part of the occupation forces of Japan after World War II.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News in New York, and here is the latest situation as we now know it on the island of Grenada, which is a tiny island, as you know, in the southern Caribbean.
We are then told that between 700 and 1,000 Army airborne troops landed or parachuted into the Point Salinas International Airport, and that they have secured that airport and are now trying to protect Americans in the area and filter up here to the main population center in St. George's.
I was the senior trauma NCO for the 2nd Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment, 2nd Brigade of the 82nd Airborne Division. We were the DRF-1. We were the Division Ready Force 1 Battalion. That means we had a 2-hour recall from the time we were alerted. We had to be in within 2 hours. We were going to do in-flight rig. We had a C-141 Bravo stretch, and I got about half the aircraft rigged up, ready to jump, parachutes on, etc. And they were to the forward end of the aircraft, and we were pulling the parachutes off the tailgate. We received a radio message, or we got on the radio with General Lutz, who was the Deputy Commander for Operations for 18th Airborne Corps, and told us that the Rangers had secured the airfield and we weren't going to be jumping. We were going to be air landing. It's daylight, of course, and they said the Rangers had secured the airfield, and as our 141s are coming in, we're taking rounds, you know, come in low, come up, land, hit the runway, reverse thrust. They'd come down to the end of the runway and they would turn around, normally stop, put the tailgate down, and we'd all get out. These guys came down, hit, slowed down, tailgate came down, and they told us that we would just run off because they weren't going to stop the aircraft. There's 128 of us peeling out the back of this 141. And there was a senior NCO standing there. It's like, Alpha Company go this way, Bravo Company go that way, Charlie Company up on that ridge. So basically, but we were taking rounds. So once everyone's off, and we're kicking rucksacks off, and he speeds up and he takes off. We had gone to the right. I had one of my privates with me. Hemlick was his name. He asked me, what do we do now, Sergeant Kettel? Should I put a round in my chamber? I said, yeah, lock and load, boy. So we're going to get up and run across the flight strip over to and make our way up a little hillside where we had designated where we'd put our battalion aid station. As we're going across, BDRMs, I think, started making their way up the road trying to get onto the airfield. They were bad guys. So the Rangers and a 90 from the 82nd, like 3 or 4 of them got online, and as the BDRMs were coming up, they were just firing on them. They blew those up. There was 2 of them. We finally made our way across and we got up on the hillside to where we were establishing the battalion aid station. 2nd 325 was the first battalion in. We came up off the airfield. There was a ridge line, and we established that. Of course, the Rangers were there as well, and they had taken an area a little bit further west of us, I believe, where the Cuban compound was. They had already gone through there.
Lunchtime.
Where are you from, soldier?
Boston, Mass. Have you guys caught any of the action yet?
Yeah.
Some pretty hairy shit going on the airstrip yesterday. We lost a couple of guys.
The first casualty occurred later on the first day that we arrived, on the 25th in the early evening. Sergeant Epps, Staff Sergeant Epps from Bravo Company, and I don't know the whole story, but it had something to do with an anti-aircraft gun on top of the hill. I don't know if he was opening it up, trying to take the ammo out, and it had a misfire or something blew up, and we don't know if it was booby-trapped. And in any case, he took devastating wounds, and he had actually died that evening. So that first night, it was just sporadic AK-47 fired green tracers. Early the next morning before daylight, Captain Ritz, Bravo Company's commander, went on to lead his recon. I think he took himself, RTO, an NCO, maybe a lieutenant. And I don't know if the senior medic for Bravo Company, who was Spec 5 Pew, went with him. But in any case, they're out on their leader's recon. It's dark, and they're coming up over the edge of the hill, and there was an ambush set up. And the company commander, Captain Ritz, was immediately shot. Took some rounds across the chest, face, and he was KIA right there. Of course, the crew returned fire immediately, suppressed them. They pulled back. The friendlies pulled back. Sergeant Pugh came up, rendered aid, what he could do for him. And by the time we got to the battalion aid station, he was gone. So that was actually our second casualty in 2 days. We weren't even on the island 24 hours, and that was the second casualty. Like say like we landed on the island, I don't know, in the morning sometime, and 18 hours later, Captain Ritz is gone. Bravo Company's commander. So the XO was Mike Okita, and then Mike came up and he became the company commander for that operation. After that first night, the battalion moved, and we were going to move towards St. George's. We were going to go past the drive-in, and there were warehouses full of Russian military equipment, AK-47s, mortars, boxes of bayonets, grenades, all the basic stuff that they would export to overthrow a government. We moved in through there. We continued to clear down and through St. George, and by that time, all the major targets had been hit. Cleared the medical school, evacuating all the students, the med students that were there. The prisons. They got into the city, captured who they needed to capture, saved those that they could save, and our follow-on mission was to move into the center of the island to a location, establish a battalion base camp, and basically we went and just did patrols out to all the villages and towns. Grenada is a very beautiful country, and the people there were so good. They were so kind, and their arms were wide open, and they were so grateful that we had come to liberate them from what they were going through.
Welcome back. Hell of a job. Shaking hands with a real pro. Good to have you. Welcome back. I'm supposed to be running this whole thing. But I'll tell you who's really running it, who's really making it go, are you people right here. last night you weren't watching television. But anyway, the president went on television, and he recognized the contribution that you're making. He recognized you guys down here in Grenada.
One minute! 30 seconds! 30 seconds! Stand by! Follow me!
Follow him!
We're going. Hot contact.
Talked to a PA friend of mine who was a member of this team, and I said, "Hey, what do you know about these Round Canopy Parachute teams?" And he told me that, well, this is what we do, and the military standards, et cetera, et cetera. I said, well, that's cool. I said, well, what do you know about this team, XYZ? And he said, oh, have you looked at RCPT, Round Canopy Parachuting Team? We're in Florida. I came down, I did extended airborne refresher training. I had not jumped in 21 years. This is great because I have met guys that were in my battalion in the 82nd Airborne. I've had the privilege of jumping from many different types of aircraft, but nothing like the C-47, which we jump here a lot. That is a completely different aircraft. It's magnificent. The history is there. I knew a lot about the 101st, and then the second one I wrote on was about D-Day, so I knew about the 82nd, different battalions, where they went, etc. Breakdown in communications, people missing drop zones. My goal is to jump Normandy next year. I was going to jump Holland this September, but work got in the way. The team is growing exponentially since I joined 5 years ago. We only had a couple hundred members then. Now we're up over 800. So it's wonderful to embrace all these paratroopers and bring them in, because all these guys have done the same things I've done, the same places I've been. So our highs and lows are the same, and how we've overcome traumas, the tribulations of those events, it's all the same. This place kind of brings everyone back together, right? Yeah.